Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. David Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. David is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. And welcome everyone to episode 212.
And this will be part two of the session with Zeina on the achievement addiction. You heard part one last week. It was the first half of the Tuesday group at Stanford. And this week you'll hear the exciting conclusion of the work with Zeina on the achievement addiction. I hope you enjoy it. And are we ready to rock and roll now?
Well, we got a really cool endorsement. So let me start by reading this one.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
This is from someone named Yan. And Yan wrote, "Hi, Dr. Burns. I am a longtime listener of the podcast. You and Rhonda are fantastic. The episodes somehow just keep getting better and better every week. I'm also a longtime owner and user of your book, Feeling Good. I just referred to it again a few days ago to refresh myself on how to do the downward arrow technique. I'm writing today because I have a burning question that I think a lot of people are going to have. What do I need to do to get a signed copy of your new book, Feeling Great? Best, Yan."
Well, that's such a kind thing, and to answer that question, it's kind of hard to do that during this virtual reality phase of our lives. But I am hopeful that when the pandemic has passed, to get back to doing some live performances again. I'm going to be doing some one-day programs that I'll post on my website, workshops. I think I'm also going to be having programs for the general public for the first time. So we hope all of you will join some of those. But once I can begin to go out into the community and do live performances, Jan, I would love to meet you and be so honored to sign your book and to thank you for your support over the years. And then one other quick little thing is your treatment center is now open for business, Rhonda, the Feeling Great treatment center. And I know you've got 5 fabulous team therapists working with you, and we'll have your contact information in the show notes in case anyone wants to get some good team therapy from you and from your colleagues. And right now it's all virtual, but I understand that next January you'll also have a brick and mortar Feeling Great treatment center in Walnut Creek.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
We're excited about this new development. And of course, I also support the Feeling Good Institute in Mountain View, California, where they also have a group of outstanding team therapists. And are we ready now to jump into part 2?
We are.
Okay, we hope you enjoyed this conclusion of the podcast, and then we have a surprise treat for you at the end. Zeina is joining us today, and she'll tell you how she's been doing since the session and what parts of the session made the greatest impact on her.
Great.
Shall we go on to the semantic method?
Yes.
Now, the second thing is an intellectual change at the intellectual level, and then after that we'll go on for change at the gut level. The intellectual level works like this, and we'll stick with this exact belief that my worthwhileness is based on my achievements. Since we're saying we're going to give up that belief, that's not working to my advantage, we want to then revise the belief, reword it in a way that you can keep all of the advantages, because there are many advantages. It feels good to achieve, and it motivates you to achieve, and so on and so forth. But you get rid of most, if not all, of the disadvantages. So if you would all now try writing down what is your new belief going to be. If you're not going to measure your self-esteem based on your achievements anymore, then how are you going to measure your self-esteem? Or are you even going to measure your self-esteem, try to measure your self-esteem in some way? What's a new belief? Because we have to give the patient something to hang his or her hat on. So we're going to take something away from you, but here's a new goal that you can have on an intellectual level, and then we'll show you how to achieve it on an emotional level. So why don't you all just write something down, your new belief, and then we'll ask Zeina first what's her new belief, and then once we've done that, then we'll show you some other pretty cool techniques. So once you've got a new revised belief, you know, put a note in the chat so we'll know. By the way, great notes for you, Zeina. Go, Zeina. Zeina from Elizabeth. Thanks for being open and vulnerable, Zeina. From Zeina to everyone. Thank you, everyone. This is really meaningful for me. Yeah, it's great. It's coming to life in a personal way again. From Esther, I'd like to work on methods for this, and we're going to do that now. Yeah. So
I'm supposed to be trying to think of a new belief to like replace the achievement addiction.
Yeah.
This is hard.
Mm-hmm. If it was easy, you probably would have thought of it already. Well, let's let the others try, and then we'll come back to you. Who has a new one?
Can I just say one quick thing?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll sometimes say to the patient, it's kind of like, I mean, David said this, but just to remind you, it's sort of like keeping what's good about your belief, right? Which has something to do with enjoying achieving and liking working hard. But the problem with your belief is this idea that your self-esteem or your self-worth is based on your achievements, right? So your kind of new belief would have something to do with like potentially honoring or enjoying achieving, but not needing to achieve in order to feel good, or not basing your self-worth on your achievement. So something.
I'll read and comment on a few of the ones in the chat box from Danielle. My self-worth is based on sticking up for my values, and there's some value in that. That's a good one. One potential issue is then when you're not sticking up for your values, are you less worthwhile? So you're still vulnerable to being more or less worthwhile. In addition, sticking up for my values is, of course, the cause of all violence in the world today, and all divorce and all rupture of personal relationships. People get to arguing, and in politics you see it too, sticking up for my values. So it's a little bit of a two-edged sword there.
Yeah. Well, I think I kind of meant like, you know, treating people the way you would want to be treated, or like living the life in a meaningful way that feels like like treating your friends and family, people that you're close to, the way that you would be treated. That's kind of what I meant, but I understand it's a little vague.
Well, that's a good one. So then you say my self-esteem is based on treating people with respect and warmth and compassion. Mm-hmm. How many of you in the group have on multiple occasions treated people without respect, warmth, and compassion? Does that mean we're worthwhile then? Less worthwhile? I mean, like I was grumpy to my grandson the other day because my daughter needed my attention, and he kept walking up close to us, and I'm saying, please keep your distance, because I didn't want him overhearing our conversation. I didn't want his COVID germs if he had them. But I was a little grumpy because I was annoyed because he kept coming up, and we were on a hike, and he wasn't kind of paying attention, and I could have handled it better, and I apologized to him. But I don't want to be feeling less worthwhile, because it might be harder to apologize to him, and but that's certainly a step in the right direction, to base your self-esteem on warmth and compassion. Michael Williams, I enjoy working hard toward goals that are truly meaningful to me, like a hobby, but my worth comes from connections with others and living consistent with my deeper values. Well, that's a step out of the frying pan and maybe into the fire a little bit as well. What can anyone see a downside to that one? My worth comes from my connections with others and living consistent with my deepest values, kind of like what you were saying, Danielle.
Yeah.
And can anyone see a difficulty with potential difficulty?
Yeah, I don't always get to connect with others. I'm not the one entirely responsible for what happens with people, with others. And in addition to that, sometimes I won't live entirely consistent with my values.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the world are having trouble getting close to others. Then does this mean they're less worthwhile? And should they be feeling less worthwhile? That's a good thing. Here's a good one by, Jill has this is going to be awesome from Jill. Achieving is fun and great, but it has nothing to do with my worthiness. I like that one. Anastasia says, achievement doesn't exist in Buddhism. Someone says there are other things in life that are important as well. I am more than the sum of my achievements. Maybe that sounds like a little like Zeina, maybe, I'm not sure, because I can't see who it's from. From Nia, I have one to share. That sounds great. I don't understand it, but it sounds wonderful.
I was just saying that
Okay.
I actually was saying that I have one to share. I'm on an iPhone, so it's hard to type in.
Oh, I thought it was a
mine-
mystical statement.
No.
Sure, give us yours. Yeah, thank you.
So I love the feeling of achieving and the benefits of interest, and the pursuit of excellence, but I'm inherently worthy, and I can honor my relaxed, playful, social, and even my lazy sides.
Whoa, can you say that again? I want to write all that down.
Okay, yeah, say it again, Nia.
Slowly.
I think
Okay.
Nita is kind of like your soul sister in this evening, right? You guys have some mental telepathy going on.
I'm just the wordiest.
Your sound is not good, Nia,
Benefits.
and you're echoing a lot.
Oh no. Is it better now?
Yes, much better.
I love the feeling of achieving and the benefits of interests, goals, and pursuit of excellence, but I'm inherently worthy and can honor my relaxed, playful, social, and even my lazy side.
So how was that one, Zeina?
That was awesome. I love it. I really love like every word of it.
Great, there's a good one. Mark, you want to tell us yours?
Yes, my worth is on so many other things in my life.
Mm-hmm. What would 3 of them be?
To be around for my children and grandchildren, to help people who can use my expertise, maybe just at will, and to enjoy life myself.
Right. Yeah. Those are beautiful things. Again, from my own point of view, I would question, why do I have to say those things make me more worthwhile? I can enjoy these things. Like I enjoy petting the tummy of our kitty, but I don't at the add-on, and that makes me worthwhile. That experience is worthwhile and great, but I don't feel like I have to be more worthwhile. That's kind of the 2 levels of this, like, do we have to have something, anything to be worthwhile? Like some people have said, well, I'm worthwhile because of my religious belief in God. And that sounds innocent enough, but what percentage of people lose their belief in God at some point? I'm sure if the Pope is halfway honest, he spends half his life doubting the existence of God. Mother Teresa certainly had her moments of darkness and doubt. That's a part of the spiritual pathway. But if you say, oh, well, gosh, now I'm not believing in God, I'm not worthwhile, that seems pretty cruel.
We should call the Pope and ask.
Huh? Pardon me?
We should call the Pope and ask what he thinks about it.
Well, I was talking about him earlier today, and he said I could share this with all of you. So
there's like there's a direct teaching point though, based on what you're saying, David, which is I think people need to realize that if you're trading achievement or anything else, you're still buying into it's still a self-defeating belief, right? Isn't the problem basing your self-esteem on anything? Because then when you fall in any way short of that thing, whether it's being a loving mother, being a loving friend, being a good doctor, whatever you're going to replace her achievement addiction with, it becomes just another addiction because you're saying, I'm only worthy if I do X, right? So
yeah,
it's just as problematic. And we need to know that as therapists, because otherwise we're going to let our patients replace one self-defeating belief with another and then tell them that they're right and that that's a better belief. But in fact, it's just another trap, right?
Yep, we've got a lot of great things I'll read here. Nayla, worthiness can't be measured, so why bother? You know, I totally agree. Dan Linehan, achievement is desired, not required. I love that too. Amisha, I trust myself to work towards what I need as I feel I need it. My self-worth is based on who I am at the core and at my heart. That's a good one. I unfortunately have no core and have no interest in self-worth, but it's a step up the ladder for sure. And then we've seen Jill's, yeah, and yeah.
I just wrote out Nia's. That's what I did. I just typed out Nia's.
Oh yeah, I love the feeling of achieving, but I'm inherently worthy, and I can honor my relaxed, playful, and even lazy side. David would edit it. I love the feeling of achievement. I love achieving, and I can honor my relaxed, playful, and even lazy side. I wouldn't say that I'm inherently worthy, because to me that's just psychobabble, psycho jargon. Puts in, I'm inherently worthwhile. I achieved this when I was 8 years old. I got it at birth.
Yeah, I don't know. That still resonates with me, because I think it's
sure.
Like I think it's kind of saying that like everyone is inherently worthwhile. Like the fact that like we just get it when we're born, sort of, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like,
to me, that's a vicious belief.
Right?
You know.
Really?
Yeah, sure. A lot of people kill animals because humans are inherently more worthwhile.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily saying that humans are more worthwhile to say that. I mean, yeah, but anyway, that could be a big debate.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan, worthwhileness is a trick of the brain. Achievement is a great thing, but there are several other aspects of life that are wonderful as well. And there's more than several. That's actually 8. That's my attempt at humor. There's thousands of millions of things in life that can be wonderful experiences. Jessica, a one-worder, yes, exclamation point. I love that, Jessica. Dipti, my 50-50 has dropped down significantly, thanks. You were a 50-50, Dipti. Yeah, that's so interesting. From Jane Hagenow, I exist and that's enough. And that's a quote from someone called Author Unknown. That's cool. And from Michael, my kidney is worth about $20,000 on the black market, but you can't put a price value on the rest of me. That's a great one. And then Mark, I now realize I was cheerleading myself. Thanks, David. Well, thanks for that, Mark. Well, this was a beautiful philosophical discussion, and I believe that philosophy is a part of good therapy, but then we want to move from philosophy to real change at the gut level. So I'll ask Jill to summarize and see if we're ready to move on to the next technique. By the way, I like working.
Zeina. We never got Zeina's.
Oh yeah.
Technique. So let's go with Zeina. What you got? Lots of things from the peanut gallery. So how are you changing this into a belief that feels true and yet not so extreme or if then?
I love Nia's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that one. I love the feeling of achieving and the benefits of interest, goals, and the pursuit of excellence, but I am inherently worthy and can honor my relaxed, playful, social, and even my lazy side.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. It's interesting because like I think before we did this exercise, I probably would have had some sort of assumption that if the revised belief comes from the patient, that would be better. But I don't know. This is like amazing. And I don't think I would have been able to come up with that right now. So
I agree. These things require a lot of thought and a lot of help, and people are at different levels of enlightenment on it. And I think it's a collaboration with the patient, like so many of the things that we do.
mm-hmm.
Well, are we ready, Jill, to move on?
Should we think then about, well, actually, what we could ask, I just had one quick idea. Zeina, how much do you believe this new thought that you came up with, this new belief?
Although I didn't come up with it, but I'm going to claim it as
right, okay. Give me a credit for it, but it's now your belief. You just confirmed that, you know, this is the one I'm going to go with. So how much do you believe that, 0 to 100? How true is that for you?
I think I believe it 100%.
Awesome. Great. That's nice.
At least I want to. I know that there will be moments where I'll struggle to like remember this, but
we drift in and out of enlightenment all the time, according to the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
So David, if we were going to think, I mean, that's wonderful. It's a great start, right? To be able to come up with something that really does kind of crush the achievement addiction, and that feels true to you. But David, what should we think about? What are other methods right now that, like, with someone like with Zeina, who's got this self-defeating belief, what are other methods we might use with her, and then we could do them, practice?
Yeah, now one that I like, but you'd have to help set it up, because although it seems easy and obvious to me, it can be confusing for reasons I haven't yet grasped to other people, and that's the feared fantasy.
Right.
And in that case, we would be slightly modifying the belief to say, my worthwhileness as a human being depends on my achievements. The more I achieve, the more worthwhile I am as a human being. And then we would examine whether that is actually correct. See, we've looked so far at what is to our advantage to believe, and these beliefs are stipulations in a way. On some level, they can't be proven one way or the other. You can prove things empirically, but our values are something we kind of assert. But we can kind of actually prove whether or not it's true that people who are more worthwhile are the ones who achieve a great deal. And do you want to kind of help set this up, Jill?
Sorry, can I interrupt for one moment? I think I believe it 95%. I think I have to add one little thing to it to get it to 100.
Oh, great.
Let me see. I'm trying to work that out right now. I don't know if this is like watering it down or making it less good, but like I'm struggling with this like 5% of like, I want to add something about like, well, I guess it kind of already has the whole, like, I love the feeling of achieving and that whole part.
And you can also add an I value achievement.
Right.
But I'm inherently worthy, and on rare occasions can honor my playful side. That was my attempt at humor.
I feel like I want to add something at the end or something that's like, that doesn't mean that I don't try to live my values and use my time well, but like those things don't
I can use my time well, but my achievements don't make me any more worthwhile.
Yeah, it feels like such a downer to end on. Like the beginning part of it is like so inspiring.
I can use my time well, but that's not something I always have to be doing.
Zeina.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
well,
important to use my
my
time poorly.
Sister.
Huh?
Okay. How about adding before pursuit of excellence, efficient use of my time or something like that? I value the, I can't remember what I said, but adding that efficient use of my time, or I really value my time in there.
Yeah, that I like what you're saying. And I think I would also want to add something there that's like my commitment to living my values.
100%.
Okay, yay, that's better. Let me see, how close are we to, so I love the feeling of achieving and the benefits of interest goals. I need to change this a little.
So that I can honor my playful side, I can value the efficient use of my time.
Yeah, I'm just sort of changing the order.
And I can especially value the inefficient use of my time.
Okay, so I think I'm kind of breaking it up into more than one sentence. So now I love the feeling of achieving and the benefits of interests, goals, and the pursuit of excellence. I also value the efficient use of my time, my commitment to living my values. But I am inherently worthy and can honor my relaxed, playful, social, and even my lazy side. Okay.
Good.
I think we're at 100. I don't know. It's like there's this small little thing that's like, oh gosh, we might be at 99. Because when I think about like, I don't know, like not doing anything with my life and just like, oh, whatever, what I do doesn't matter. Like, I still can't let go of the idea of like, but that would be a less worthy life if I just did nothing.
I think what might be.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what might be happening here is important, and it'll get solved in feared fantasy.
Yeah.
I think that actually if you're going to find it, this is exactly, David, what you said before, which is that we're in an intellectual space and now let's bring it to a gut level and see if you can really make something happen. I think that's...
Yeah, I think it's time to move on. We're getting a little sucked into philosophizing too
The other
much.
possibility also, though, is that it's, and we won't go there in this iteration, we'll go to the methods, but we also could go to more agenda setting and say, maybe this isn't something you'd want our help with. Maybe you just keep tweaking it a little bit further to like, and I got to use my time well, and I've got to be achievement oriented, and I've got to be, you want to keep keeping up the like all the stuff, and I got to make sure I say that I got
and every 2 weeks I can have 3 minutes of playfulness.
If you find that you just keep wanting to build up the front end and let the, you don't like ending. You said I don't like ending with
playfulness.
Permission to have fun.
Yeah.
No. What I meant by that is I was putting something after the having fun that felt like a downer. But I think you make a great point, Jill, because actually when I look back at the agenda and the disadvantages, that's when I feel like, oh my gosh, yes, like I want to let go of this. And it's amazing that even in these few minutes, I've already forgotten that list. So.
Yeah.
Not only that, but my new belief needs to be perfect.
I was just getting at that. It feels like even this is like a goal setting to get the right belief is the new goal,
Yeah.
So Werner, I was thinking this.
Right. I'd suggest, in the interest in time and progress, we move on to the feared fantasy. And I have a way of setting it up that I might enjoy seeing how you would set it up, Jill.
I'm happy to hear how you would set up. I mean, I think to be clear to people, what we do is what is actually called the self-defeating belief feared fantasy, right?
Yeah.
So it's different than the feared fantasy that we use with people with social anxiety, where they're really worried about, embarrassing themselves and what people would say. But I guess, but instead this is going to be a self-defeating belief feared fantasy. So the kind of other in this scenario, which maybe David will start out role playing, is going to be, and feel free to kind of jump in, David. I guess I would say is going to be someone who absolutely buys into this self-defeating belief, right? Who is an incredible achiever, right? Who just achieves beyond all imagination, and also believes that worthiness is entirely dependent on achievement.
Yeah, right.
Is that right?
Right, and then we'll have a dialogue with role reversals and see what are the implications of this belief, and see if you would continue to believe it. Now we could even, I sometimes do it like going back to your high school reunion or something. That's as good a way as any. Zeina, where are you, Zeina?
Hi.
Hi. Suppose we do, and we'll have Jill jump in at any point, but what high school reunion would you be coming to, do you think?
None of them.
Oh, you haven't graduated from high school yet? Huh?
No, but I went to one reunion, and my best friend and we went to it, and we were both like, oh yeah, this is why we don't like hanging out with these people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. So, but what number would your next high school reunion be?
I graduated in 99.
So it'd be about 20th or something? 21st?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's imagine we're going to go to your next high school reunion.
Sounds
and
awesome.
and we're going to run into this classmate who has had fantastic achievements.
Okay.
Was just pictured on the cover of Time magazine, you know, Time Man or Woman of the Year. One of the greatest achieving human beings on the surface of the earth. And this person was in our high school class, and comes to the reunion, you know, in a chauffeur-driven limousine with bodyguards and handlers, and comes in, and we have a dialogue with this person, and one of us can play the role of Zeina, and one of us can play the role of this classmate. Give a name to the classmate.
Okay. Make up a name?
Yeah.
Let's say
Trump.
Let's make it a female. Let's say why can't I think? I'm trying to think of a name of a person.
Lucifer?
That
Just give me a name. Jennifer. Okay. Now one of us will play Jennifer, and one of us will play Zeina, and we'll do role reversal, so it doesn't make any difference which role you start out in. Which role would you like to start out in, Zeina?
I'll start out as Zeina.
As Zeina. Okay. Hey, Zeina, girl there. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, good. You probably caught my picture on the cover of Time magazine, right? Woman of the decade. Huh? Did you catch that?
I did not catch that, but congratulations.
Oh, it just came out. I have a stack of them here, and I would sign one for you for a couple bucks. But there was something that I wanted to mention to you, Zeina, and get your thinking on. You know how we have this value system where our worthwhileness as human beings depends on our achievements?
Yeah.
And you know, we've always lived by that, and kind of looks like my achievements are pretty fantastic compared with yours. I understand you're kind of like a social worker or some kind of a local, you know, counselor, or you tutor children or something like that.
Yeah, I have a tutoring business, and I also am a psychotherapist.
Oh, okay, yeah. Have you read about my patents, the billions that I've made?
No,
did you
haven't.
know the awards that I've won?
No, I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, that's what they say. They say I'm pretty much the top achiever in the world at this time.
Wow.
Even
great.
Donald Trump calls me for advice, and he,
Wow.
he bows before me.
Oh.
And I heard that every goal you've ever set, David or Jennifer, I've heard that every goal you ever set, you've achieved. Like you've never set a goal that you didn't reach, right?
Well, I guess I've been kind of lucky. But anyway, what I wanted to mention to you, Zeina, is it just looks like everything you can do, I can do better, and I've achieved way more than you in every domain. You understand that, Zeina?
Go you.
Right, right. And so what follows then, sweetheart?
I'm sorry?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm just perhaps a bit more worthwhile than you, huh? I'm kind of looking down on you, but it takes nothing away. And we need the peasants and we need the emperors.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I just have one question for you, though.
Uh-huh.
How can the little people like you be happy? I mean, I jet set around the world hanging out with famous people.
Yeah. Yeah. Your life sounds pretty great.
It is. It is. I might say so myself.
One of these like worthiness thermometers on my wall, and I've been tracking you, Zeina, and your minor accomplishments, whereas Jennifer, her accomplishments, just outpace yours basically on a daily basis, which makes you pretty worthless and her extraordinarily worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't mean to be blunt, Zeina, but I'm better than you.
Yeah.
In every respect.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, now let's stop for a minute. Who looks like the idiot?
You, Jennifer, or you?
Can you see that pretty clearly?
Yeah.
Now let's do a role reversal. You be Jennifer.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I feel like it's somewhat easy for me to see that someone as obnoxious as the person that you were playing would be easy to not envy. But what if it were someone who were like had achieved a ton but were more humble and were like was genuinely like
that's what we're going to play, the role we're going to play right now. But you must buy into the value system that our worth depends on our achievements.
But do you see that, Zeina? You can't just play a person who's achieved a decent amount. That's not the problem. It's not achieving. Right. That's the problem. The problem is value system.
So now you're going to play the
more humble. You're still going to have to continually say, but I look down on you because you haven't achieved as much. You are not as worthy.
Yeah, you're Jennifer now, and I'm Zeina. Okay.
Okay. Got
it. Jennifer, great to see you. I had no idea you'd come to our reunion. I'm excited and honored. I remember, back our senior year, you were voted the most likely to succeed, and boy, have you succeeded. I saw your picture on the cover of Time magazine. The woman of the decade. They say you've achieved more maybe than any other woman in human history.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I have.
You got that big limo out there and all your bodyguards and handlers. It's just very impressive, and I'm just so proud of you.
Oh,
I didn't know you in high school. You were one of the beautiful people, and I was one of the more average types. But I've always admired you. And I'm so excited for you too. But there was one thing I heard through the grapevine about you, Jennifer, or Zeina. What's your name? I can't.
Zeina.
You're Zeina, yeah. Zeina, there's
sorry.
Jennifer. You're Jennifer. Yeah, you're Jennifer. There's this one thing I heard about you, Jennifer, that I couldn't believe it was true. But I just wanted, out of respect, to check with you and find out if what I heard was true or not. And here's what I heard. Jennifer, I heard that you were saying that because you've achieved so much, you think you're kind of more worthwhile than other people now, and you're kind of looking down on other people. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true.
Oh, really? Is that kind of fun for you? Are you looking down on me? Is it?
Yeah.
You kind of having fun looking down on me right now?
Yeah, I mean it's nice. It can be nice to feel like you're winning or that you're like better than most other people.
So you're kind of thinking you're better because you've achieved more than anyone here at the reunion. So you're probably thinking you're better than all of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what the data shows, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, go for it, Gal. I have to break off right now because I have to hang out with some friends in low places.
Okay.
So who won? Who won?
Who won?
Who looks like the idiot?
I do.
Do you still believe that that our worthwhileness as human beings depends on our achievements?
No, and you know what was really interesting about that was like the first round kind of didn't do that much for me, but the second round was really interesting because I realized that when I was buying into, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like I was selectively buying into the achievement addiction, but not like consistently all the time.
Yeah.
So like if I achieve a ton, then I might feel good about that, but I'm not gonna like buy into it so much that I would then judge other people as being less worthy than me. And so it's just interesting to see like the ways in which we kind of look at things when we're applying it to ourselves, but then we sort of change it when we apply it to other people. So
yeah,
well,
but the rule would apply to all human beings,
right.
and there's nothing wrong with achievements. One of my roommates from college has received 2 Nobel Prizes.
Really?
Yeah, and and I mean he's on TV a lot, and you know he's like you know a superstar. He was in college like that, and that's really cool. But does that make him a more worthwhile human being? You know, is he better than other people? That's the question. I value achievement. I'm working hard on my new book and on the podcasts, but I'm not basing my self-esteem on achievements. For me, like I just like doing stuff, and it's fun. And sometimes I win. 9 times out of 10, I lose. But it's the fun of what I'm doing. Not that I think it's going to make me better than anyone. When I work with all of you folks, you know, and you share your vulnerabilities and your tears and your flaws and shortcomings, I just feel so proud of everyone, so close to everybody. And that's so precious, such a precious experience for me. And I find that when I try to impress people, they get pissed off at me. And when I show humility and vulnerability, people seem to feel closer to me. But anyway, those are some of the issues in you know basing our self-esteem on our achievements. And for me personally, I don't want or need self-esteem. It would be a kind of a pain in the ass if I got it back again.
So what does that mean that you don't want or need it? Does it mean that you don't have like thoughts about yourself?
Well, okay. Well, I don't have a self. I lost that along with my self-esteem, and it's been a big relief ever since. Every now and then my self comes back to life, and then I suffer again. But like I like hanging out with you. Last week, I liked hanging out with the small group with Jackie and Mark and Lee and Todd, and that means a lot to me. It's, you know, I'm getting older, and you know, experiences are important to me. But you know, I emailed my roommate to congratulate him, but I didn't hear back.
A couple other, David, am I interrupting?
No, please.
Okay. A couple other thoughts Zeina, I mean, you mentioned that this is kind of a standard you hold yourself to and maybe not to others. And so potentially the double standard technique could be useful to you, where you could do kind of a role play and a compassion-based role play, and your dear friend could be saying, you know, gosh, I'm just telling myself that on the days where I achieve a lot, I'm incredibly worthwhile. And on the days where I work really hard but don't hit my goal, that I kind of suck. You know, do you think that's true? So you could do.
And let's have that dialogue right now, and Zeina can answer that.
Okay, so Zeina, I'm going to be a dear friend of yours, but I'm also kind of a clone of yours, right? So I grew up in the same family as you, and I have the same strengths and weaknesses. I've been doing the same kind of work. And I just wanted to share with you that, you know, I have this belief that, got to say it correctly, that my worthwhileness is based on my achievements. And so the way this works is on the days where I achieve a lot, you know, I set goals for myself and I nail them, then I feel great and I'm totally worthwhile. But then there are these days where I set goals and I even sometimes work pretty hard on them, but I don't hit them. And then I think I'm just worthless. I just kind of fall into the worthless bucket. Does that make sense to you? Do you kind of think that's a good way to look at things? Do you think I'm kind of worthless when I don't hit my goals exactly?
No, I don't think that at all. I don't think that's a good way to look at things. I think that I think effort matters, and sometimes we make, you know, significant efforts, but we can't always control the outcome. And I think that if you're putting in effort, that's something to feel good about, and you're not always gonna nail everything every day. And if you're only measuring, as you've seen, if you're only measuring yourself based on your outcomes, then how you feel on a particular day is going to be kind of a roller coaster that you can't really control or like have much influence over. And I don't agree with kind of the approach that you're taking.
So it sounds like you said a bunch of things that sound kind of helpful, like that effort actually matters, so that, you know, even if I'm kind of working hard on something, I could actually feel good about it, even if I don't like accomplish my goal.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that I'm not always going to nail everything every day, and that's okay.
Yes, exactly.
You still think I'm like a worthwhile human being, even if I don't nail it?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you just saying that because you're trying to be nice to me? Because I'm pretty sure I need to nail it all the time in order to be worthwhile.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think we earn our worthiness. I think that we are all inherently worthy, and it doesn't really have to do with like the outcome of our efforts.
Well, that kind of sounds like a relief. And I'm wondering, Zeina, if that were true for me, and I'm a clone of yours, isn't that then true for you too? Like, would that be a belief that you would then have for yourself, that we're all kind of inherently worthy and we don't need to earn our worthiness by accomplishing a lot?
Yeah, and I think like I'm a little worried this is like going to go down not such a good road in saying this, but you can kind of like flip it on its head. Like if someone were just really like naturally gifted at something and very talented, and they just kind of didn't really work hard at all, and so let's say someone's really good at shooting basketball or hoops or something like that, like free throws, and they just kind of didn't really work hard at all because they were inherently very talented. Like, even though the outcome of their efforts might be good, like, I think I would more want to be the person who's working hard and like missing all the baskets than.
And I have a question for you. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. So now are you telling me that I should base my worthiness on my effort?
I knew this.
Man, you know what, Zeina? There are days where I don't put that much effort in. So do I suck and am I worthless on those days? Because that's
No, I knew I was gonna,
for me.
I knew I was going to go down the wrong road there. Good point. No, you don't suck on the days that you're not putting in effort because, well, you know, it's not like you could take that to an extreme as well and like always be like working too hard and burning yourself out and not having like a good balance. So like anything that you decide to base your worthiness on, you can take to an extreme and then decide when you're not doing those things, you're not worthy. So
yeah, do that.
Yeah. Right. And then you'll feel kind of like on an emotional roller coaster. And so, yeah, I think our worthwhileness is not something that we earn. We just, either we are inherently worthwhile or worthiness doesn't exist.
All right. High five on that.
High five.
How did we do on that, Zeina? Do you believe what you just came up with?
I do actually, yeah. I mean, I think it's like back to kind of my Buddhist studies, which is that like worthiness is empty. It's neutral. It's not like this thing that has like its own kind of meaning. It's just like, yeah.
Like I can care about achieving, I can care about effort, but my worthwhileness doesn't depend on these things. In fact, I don't even know what worthiness really means.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of empty of like, yeah. Sort of.
When I was in Philadelphia, I decided that I had no self, so I could do whatever I wanted. And so I decided to give up the practice of psychiatry and do full-time table tennis training to see if I could make the Olympic team.
How'd that go for you?
Well, it was quite a story, but I'll give you the abbreviated version. I hired a coach, one of the top players in the world who had just moved to Philadelphia. He was Ernie the Black Pearl. He was the Caribbean champion. He had once played the world champion from Sweden. And so he gave me 20 hours a week of table tennis training in the garage. We had a TV set, a ball machine, Olympic equipment. And it was just intense for, 4 hours a day. And it was really fun. I mean, he was so good, it was just unbelievable. And I was so bad, it was almost equally unbelievable. but it was fun. And if you had come in there and said, "Oh, David, by the way, we want you to let you know that you're not worthwhile," I would have said, "Could we come to that later? I'm just really busy having fun right now." And I don't know if you can get that story, then you might understand why worthwhileness is a waste of time. Like I'm looking right now at Elizabeth, who popped up on the screen, and what a beautiful, smart, and wonderful person. And what great to interact with Elizabeth. And I see Todd, who made such a beautiful statement in our group and after our group. And, to me, these experiences are very rich. I feel privileged and lucky. That's what interests me. But, you can have my worthwhileness if you want, because I don't have any of it and I don't want any of it. But I do love life, and life can include achievement. That's fun to try, and it's fun to succeed, and it's fun to fail and have people to comfort you and to learn from it. But anyway, that's our little blurb. Why don't we get some feedback from people, Jill?
There's one other thing going on here I think that maybe is worth bringing up real quick. And I thought we were going to get to inferior to fantasy, but we didn't exactly. I don't know that we have time, but there are kind of two of you, Zeina, and one of them is getting really critical toward the other when you're not achieving or not using your time in whatever way you're saying needs to happen. And I don't think your problem is ever whether or not you're being worthwhile enough or achieving enough. You have a bigger problem. And this is kind of the counterattack idea.
Good point.
You smiled a little bit there. I think you might be knowing what I'm going for. What might your bigger problem be?
Listening to my bullshit.
Yeah, right. Right.
That listening to that part of you that beats up on you and tells you that whatever's going on is wrong, and that you need to get back on. And remembering that and catching that judgmental part of yourself seems like something that maybe could come out of this too.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, our suffering doesn't come from a lack of achievement, but from being cruel to ourselves and beating up on ourselves and saying mean things. Well, we could approach this from other angles, but we want to kind of stay on track. Maybe just get a little feedback from people and what you liked about what worked for you tonight and how you liked the teaching, what didn't work for you. And we'll get more of that in the feedback forum.
David,
yeah.
There was some really good comments. It was hard to know when to jump in because you and Jill and Zeina, but some philosophical questions about, what does it mean to be worthiness, or what if a client insists, and I just got cut off, what if a patient insists that she feels unworthy because you're still not me?
Well, that would be an empathy failure. She's angry with you and you need to use the 5 secrets. And then after the 5 secrets, you can develop a therapeutic agenda and then work with the person. So that just say, how do you handle a therapeutic failure? Mark, I was so waiting for an enlightenment today, and it came with the role playing by Jill and David, especially when Zeina said, worthiness is empty, it's not real. Dipti, today's session was amazing with David and many Teamsters here. It is obviously visible. You surely have reached that state of being. Want to work on myself that way, not to base mine or any other person's worth on their or my achievements. Can I get some suggestions from you to read something like this? Carla, thank you, Carla. Thank you, Dipti. This was really helpful, especially for those of us who might also have the achievement addiction. Jill, I have to run at 7 p.m. and I have to drive to my parents' house now. Thank you, Zeina and David and everyone. And thank you, Jill. And I know you'll bring comfort to your family and to your dad who's ill. And thank you for spending time with us. And Anastasia, goodbye, Jill. Thank you. Thank you, Zeina. You were so open with all of us today. By the way, Dare to Be Average podcast was life-changing for me. Thank you for that. Jessica, yeah, and it's great to have you in the group now, Jessica. And Nayla, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jessica, from Zeina. Thank you so much, David and Jill from Marianne. It was a nice balance between philosophical and therapeutic interventions. I like that from me too. That I think we do want to have both practical techniques to help people change the way they feel, but also give people a spiritual and philosophical adventure to deepen our understanding of our values and what it means to be human. Well, thank you for listening to the last 2 episodes on the achievement addiction. I hope you enjoyed them, and you might have found them personally relevant because this achievement addiction is really almost universal in our culture, basing our feelings of self-esteem and worthwhileness on how much we've achieved, how productive we are. And it's really kind of a two-edged sword because on the one hand, that belief can motivate us to work hard, to have high standards, and to be exceptionally productive. But like any good thing, when taken too far, it can cause a tremendous amount of human misery as well, including in some cases people who commit suicide because they are so convinced that their worthwhileness as a human being depends on their achievements, and they think their achievements aren't good enough, and the impact can be devastating. We're really super lucky not only to have had Zeina's heartfelt and courageous and wonderful contribution of making herself so vulnerable. And that was such a big hit with our Tuesday group, and hopefully with you too. And now back by popular demand is Zeina to tell us kind of what that was like for you that evening, and what you liked, what you didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, and what has been the impact. How have you been doing since that Tuesday a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back. I think what was interesting for me is that I think one of the pieces that had the greatest impact on me was actually the cost-benefit analysis, which I found really interesting and surprising that actually felt the most impactful. I think as a therapist, I tend to think that, you know, the methods is like where we kind of, the assessment of resistance is like preparation, and the methods is sort of where we do the real work. But for me, the cost benefit analysis was amazing. I mean, that's something that I kind of go back to when I read it over and over again, because for me, the achievement addiction is, you know, as with most things, it's not something you just do once and then you never revisit it. And so that list was just amazing to me, and I need to kind of remind myself of it.
Tell us what about that was powerful for you? What were the most impactful pieces? Because I know you've been very heavily into the achievement addiction and used it to accomplish incredible things in your personal and professional life as well. And yet at the end, you weighed them, as I recall, 10 points for the advantages and 90 points for the disadvantages. What swung it so far in that direction for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wish I had actually brought that up on my computer so I could look at the list while we're talking. But from memory, I think there were certain things that I put on the list that really impacted me strongly. And then there were a number of things that class members kind of suggested and really resonated with me. One of them was recognizing how the achievement addiction impacts both my relationships in my life and also my enjoyment of other things in my life. I've always been someone who really prioritizes achievement and often doesn't put as much emphasis on my friendships or my relationships or having fun, for example. And so I realized, like, in having this achievement addiction, it's kind of not allowing me to really enjoy and experience the full spectrum of what life has to offer.
I think that was a really interesting point too, Zeina, because a lot of people think of the achievement addiction as just something that relates to their work world.
Yes.
And you were really able to clarify that it permeated lots of aspects of your life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing for me was also recognizing how, I feel like sometimes when we have certain areas of work that we haven't done ourselves, then it can become more challenging to do that type of work with clients. So that was also kind of an eye-opener for me. And I think, I just, that kind of list that we came up with, I think the disadvantages were just so shockingly huge and the advantages were so small. I was just really floored by the cost benefit analysis. And so it's something that I like to revisit so that I can kind of remember those on a daily basis until it becomes sort of ingrained in my thought pattern.
I was
just going to say, an interesting note is that we break up the Tuesday group into small groups. And in my small group, the small group that I worked in, they gave the advantages some people gave the advantages a higher score than the disadvantages.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. That's very interesting.
A couple things. How have you been doing since then? Was this helpful to you?
Yes, I think it was helpful to me. I haven't necessarily stopped and reflected on it all that much since then, but now that I am, I think, for example, one of the things that I listed as an advantage that I sort of didn't want to give up was the sort of emotional high I would get when I did achieve something that I was excited about or proud of. And it's funny that it's been a little less in terms of that emotional high after I achieve something that I'm happy about. It's been a little less. I'm still happy after I achieve something that I'm proud of, but I haven't missed or even noticed that there was a difference in the emotional high afterwards until I thought about it right now. So I'm surprised that, I thought I would miss that, and I'm actually not missing it to the extent that I didn't even notice the difference until now.
A couple other things I want to mention. We're actually thinking about maybe doing a free 2-hour workshop for the general public on the exact same theme using the same structure. Well, maybe we can announce it on the podcast in case there are people who'd want to join us and to have that same experience that you had. It was just so much fun to have you lead us through this common and almost universal self-defeating beliefs. It was just something so fun and rewarding about it. Every now and then I'll wake up in the middle of the night around midnight or something. I love it when I wake up in the middle of the night, because then I go out in the TV room and I watch TV for an hour or so and then go back to bed. And this really unusual thing happened last night. We have this little kitty, Miss Misty, and she kind of gloms onto my wife, and I'm very much her second choice. But if my wife is not around, then I'm an okay plan B type of thing. But if my wife's around, she just follows my wife and kind of ignores me, and I'm always trying to connect with her, and because I just love petting her and cuddling with her a little bit. And so last night when I got up and went into the TV room, she usually sleeps on her bed, usually right next to my wife. Maybe once a week she'll sleep next to my feet or something as a kind of a token gift. But I went into the TV room and I was shocked that she was in there. She's usually always just on our bed. And she had curled up into a ball right next to where I generally sit watching the TV. So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity. And I started petting her, and she just started purring really loudly. And then, she went up with her arms like this and spread her legs and turned her tummy up. So I was just able to stroke her. And it was the longest time I've ever been able to stroke her. Like I petted her nonstop for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then, it was so pleasurable. And then after a while, she got up and walked over to the door, and I opened it, and she trotted out and probably went back on the bed to cuddle with my wife. But it was such a little meaningful breakthrough for me, and there was so much pleasure in just that little experience there of just hanging out with a feral cat for a little while. And I get as much pleasure from something like that as from anything really, but I don't enjoy achievement any less. I've been working on this data set of over 9,000 team therapy sessions and developing mathematical models that are revealing, I think for the first time, how psychotherapy really works. And it's extraordinarily exciting. I hope I'll get a chance to publish these findings soon. And that too can be, a totally thrilling thing. But I would say it's different kind of excitement than, petting a cat on the tummy and having the cat purr. But the kitty experience is in no way less rewarding or meaningful than achievement or anything, and just hanging out with Rhonda and with Zeina and with the Tuesday group and being with people and sharing vulnerabilities and some tears flowing and some laughter. That's more precious than anything really. Well, you brought us a wonderful gift, and I just want to thank you. I think you'll have a lot of fans too. One last question I had. I know part of in your little bio that we published with the show notes, it says that you work, among other things, not only with teenagers, but also with executives who are looking for peak performance and helping them in that dimension. Did your work on the achievement addiction have any overlap with your work with this population?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I haven't had it come up specifically in a session since then, but I look forward to that in terms of I think what's interesting about that in terms of working with the population of sort of executives is that most people aren't coming to me saying, I have an achievement addiction. Will you help me with this?
Yeah,
it's
that's right. They say, I have this thing about achievement and I want more, more, more.
Exactly. Can you help me to achieve even more? Or, kind of take their performance to the next level. And I think what I have been reflecting on in regard to that is, excuse me, that it's kind of that having to do with the self-acceptance piece that, if we're kind of have that critical voice that is pushing us to achieve more, it's actually going to get in the way of our achieving more. And when we can get to that kind of self-acceptance place, regardless of our achievements, that actually generally will improve our performance and our achievement as well.
Yeah, that's the way it works for me. If I'm caring about my performance, like on a podcast or in a therapy session or any time, and I start trying to impress myself or impress people, things get kind of screwed up. And I find that the best things evolve, the best insights, the best ideas, the best results when I'm just kind of flowing and being in the moment rather than trying to force some concept of successful outcomes. And I have so many failures every single day on so many different levels, and I just find that acceptance is such a blessing to just let go of all that pressure. Well, thank you, Zeina, so much, and thank you all of you for listening. Remember, we have no funding for our podcast, no marketing budget or whatever, so you're our only source of marketing. And so if you like the Feeling Good podcast and have a mailing list, a group that you're in, that you can send the link to the Feeling Good podcast on my website, or tell your friends, or forward one of the show notes to somebody, that really helps us. It kind of boosts our audience. And so any other last words here, Rhonda?
Well, it sounds to me like what you're talking about is balance. That I loved Jill Lovett's point in the group that we don't want to stop people from achieving what they want to achieve. We just want people not to consider that their self-worth is based on their achievement, and that there's a balance with, achieving and petting your kitty and having an experience hanging out and having fun and self-acceptance, that it's all interwoven.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, as the Buddha has so often said, goodbye, Rhonda and Zeina. And thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes for this episode under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. The theme music is Gypsy Jazz in Paris, 1935, composed and performed by Brett Van Donsel. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.